All right, what's up, y'all? So I'm with Ashley. I met Ashley in a Facebook, was it a Facebook Black Aspects Columbia group, I think.
Yeah.
And I was like, we want to hang out with me? And she was like, I'll hang out with you pretty much. And then we met up in Medellin. So she's cool for sure. Risk taker. So I'm gonna introduce yourself.
Well, thanks for having me. Hey everyone, I am Ashley. Yes, like she said, we met in Colombia. I'm a full-time digital nomad. Work full-time remote for a digital marketing agency. So that's how I get to travel as much as I do. But I am happy to be here.
What's your sign?
Aquarius.
Aquarius. Okay. All right.
Yes. Explains a lot, doesn't it?
All right. So my first question is, being someone who travels a lot long term, what are some challenges that you find yourself coming across?
Oh God, just challenges, period. I think the biggest thing I always seem to find is like Wi-Fi for my
Okay.
job.
Right. Right.
That's the hardest thing is that you don't want to get to a place where, you don't have good Wi-Fi and you have to go to different co-working spaces or coffee shops. And my job is not really, I need a quiet space to work. And
Right.
so Wi-Fi is just really important to me. So having that good Wi-Fi, I think just oftentimes language barriers are also a big thing.
I know.
I mean, we can definitely always like put in the work, be like, okay, I'm actually going to take Spanish lessons or whatever language you want. And like, be dedicated before you go to a place, but that takes time.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just have to learn on the fly. And so a language barrier can also be a thing. But I think those are just tiny challenges that, you face and that are always going to come across kind of nowhere, like no matter where you are.
Yeah. So as far as, have you ever had a situation where you've been traveling and there's been an issue where you couldn't communicate with someone you needed to communicate with as far as relationship wise? Has that been a barrier when you were traveling and you couldn't?
Good question. No, I'm just like thinking. I'm like, good question on the language barrier. I'm not gonna say no. You know what? I will say Google Translator is amazing. So even if like talking conversation, it's a little bit delayed because we're checking Google Translate.
Yeah.
I think that that's the only thing. But I have had an experience like that, and like I just said, we just relayed a lot on Google Translator,
Mhm.
and there was a lot of things that she taught me, like just um, kind of just little like quick things about just language that was very helpful to know. And so then I was able to just kind of like use that when we were together.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, Google Translator was like the third person in our relationship. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. All right. As someone who travels, and you enjoy traveling, you do it often, what would be the ideal partner for you? What would that partner look like? Like mentally,
Can I
like
copy me? No, just
Mhm.
kidding. Can I copy me? I can't do it. Okay, no. Uh, I do want someone who also, truly loves to travel. Like it's a passion of theirs. I think that I think even you can also speak to this, but just when you do love to travel, I think as just, much as we do, when you find someone that doesn't have that same passion for traveling, it just makes it difficult. It's not impossible,
Right.
but I think it just makes it a little difficult because maybe they won't always understand why you're booking your next flight after you just got back from the trip, or you're like constantly looking at deals and things like that. So I would say like a traveler is going to be like number one person, someone
Okay.
who likes to meet new people or, just likes to be open to new things that, maybe they just don't know about in their hometown or in their home country and isn't really afraid to step outside the line sometimes and really try something different. So someone who's definitely open-minded, full transparent and honest. I think that's really important when you are traveling because a lot of times when you are traveling as much as you do, you may have to deal with a long distance relationship here and there.
Yeah.
And so you have to be able to trust that person and you have to be honest. I think communication is a big part because you're not going to be seeing them as much. So you're not going to be able to just pop up and have dinner one night or 2 or 3 nights a night. You're going to have to get creative and
Yeah.
maybe meet in a different country or something thing. So I think those are probably some of the key qualities that I really do look for in a partner.
Yeah. So say if they're not a traveler, but they're okay with you traveling, does that still work? So they're like, I'm not going anywhere. I want to stay here, but you can go. And
Yeah.
I respect your journey, but I'm not doing it.
Would respect them for telling me,
Mhm.
but one of the biggest things that will often come up when you are a solo traveler is you want someone to travel with.
Yeah.
And if that person that you're with doesn't want to travel with you and they're happy being at home, that's great. Happy for you. And you're not stopping me. So that's great as well.
Yeah.
But I want you to be with me. I want us to have these new experiences together and, try new foods and, jump off cliffs and things like together. I don't want to just do that alone and be able to come back and tell you all the things that I
Yeah.
did. I want it to be stories that we share with our friends and family that we did together.
Exactly. Yeah. Look at that. All right. Have you had any romances while abroad? If so,
Uh,
can you start and how old? If it ended or if not, like,
yeah. So I have.
okay.
I have, and I'm only going to talk about one because it was probably the most, I guess, longest, that it wasn't even that long, but it just was something where we met because we were really, I guess, kind of open about being queer in that area.
Mhm.
I was fully open, but she was kind of a little afraid just because of how the community felt about queer people there. And she just didn't feel comfortable putting like all of her business out. I think clearly by looking at her, she was just like one of those lesbians who like you could tell like maybe either was a tomboy
Yeah.
or like was out there, but she wasn't really open with who she dated.
Yeah.
So when I came like very just open and honest about who I was, and I, friended her really quickly, and we met at a bar, and so drinks were flowing, and we were just being really honest. And she was like, "Yeah, I am too." She was like, "But no one knows." And I was like, "Oh my god, that's so sad."
Yeah.
And goes, she was like, "Yeah, but you're here." She's like, "How long are you gonna be here?" And I was like, I mean, a little over a month. And she's like, "Well, we should get to know each other." And so I think it was just like elimination,
Mhm.
maybe. But it ended up working out well. We had a lot of things in common. The only thing that I feel like is the reason that we didn't continue is because she wasn't as flexible with her job in order to travel.
Yeah.
And so that kind of stalled. We still keep in touch, we still talk and communicate and things like that. And anytime I go back to that area, like, we still can catch up. But in terms of long-term things, it just not that
So is it the work thing or the fact that she wasn't out thing? Like the fact that she didn't have
So
flexibility to
that
travel?
did play a part.
Yeah.
That really did. We actually had a conversation about that quite recently because that is something that I don't want to have to hide. I think that it's just it drains you and it can be very, very sad to have to deal with that. And so I was just asking her like kind of like a check-in, like, "Hey, are you still kind of hiding?"
Oh,
I mean, not hiding, but you know what I mean.
yeah.
And she was like, "Well, I'm not, fully out," but she was like, I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to open up more. I'm trying not to hide, who I am and things like that." So I think that that was just something that was important for me because I'm not a big like let me tongue you down in public person,
Yeah.
but also I do enjoy simple PDA, like let's hold hands, let's cuddle at a park or something like. So if those things are bothering you, and that's like little minuscule like PDA, I just don't see how that could kind of work. So that did play a part, but it was also with her job that she wasn't able to kind of take off at different times and just be able to kind of really get out there and travel.
Yeah. So she pop up. She's out. Everybody know. She like, I got a remote job. I can go anywhere. What you doing? Is it so this is the real test right here where there's no excuses to why it can't.
There's no excuses.
What you doing?
I would be open to it. I would be open to
Okay.
it. I
Right.
would. I would. No, it was a great connection. Like I said, it was kind of it was funny how we, met and kind of just started dating. But in the end, it ended up, working out really well. And we had a lot of great fun together while I was there. So
Okay.
I would be open to it.
All right. That was a test. All right.
I know it was.
how does traveling while dating, like how does traveling help you on a personal level, like traveling and dating at the same time? Do you feel like that experience or any experience you had with people in general have helped you on like a personal level, like based on like the location, cultural differences, any type of stuff like that?
I do. I mean, I've always felt like I've always wanted to know just different people and different things about them, even living in the States. But I think when you do travel and you get to meet some of these different cultures and so many people from other parts of the world, you start learning about just how they are in relationships. And like a lot of Latino, Latinx, community, like they're very affectionate
Mhm.
and they're just lovers. And I am not used to that with like American people. you know
Yeah.
and it's a genuine affection. It's not being forced. At least that's my experience with it. I feel like it's very genuine. It's just who they are. It's in their nature. So being with someone like that has opened me up to saying, okay, maybe I should be even more affectionate. Especially if I really feel that way about someone, and just letting them know, just hey, I care about you, and maybe I need to do just a little bit more. So I think seeing different people and how they show love and how they appreciate friends and family, what they do to celebrate, that kindness and that love, I think really helps me just be a better person overall and a better person to who I am in a relationship with.
Good. All right, next question. What is the hardest part about traveling in each section? So we got emotional. We can start with emotional. So what's the hardest part about traveling emotionally? Like, I don't know, roll away from your friends, family, like this home. What's
I think that's probably the thing is that
that's
you
it?
get a little
Okay.
lonely,
Okay.
right? You get a little lonely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going on all these great adventures and you're meeting tons of people, but you do miss those people who are your supporters, like they're your rocks, they're your best friends, your family. You do miss them. So sometimes a FaceTime video just isn't enough. You really want to hug them. I mean, one day I counted, like it was like 14 days that I hadn't hugged anyone. And I was like, whoa, like you take those for granted, but that connection, that physical connection, I think is something that you shouldn't take for granted. Like hug up on everybody. And just,
Is your love language physical touch?
it is quality
Uh,
time and physical touch. Yeah.
okay.
And so, it's just one of those things where but you take it for granted. Like I really didn't value hugs, I don't think, until I started traveling so much. I'm like, sometimes you just want to squeeze somebody, and a pillow just won't do it. So I think that part, like you get a little lonely. You may start to feel like you're missing out on things that are happening back, just at your home or wherever, because, life still goes on with your
Yeah.
friends and your family when you're traveling.
Yeah.
And I think that people, they kind of say that we're being selfish or maybe we're just doing our own things. Snap, hold on. Listen, when you're in Airbnbs and sometimes things act a little weird. All right. TV just like pops on for no reason. So anyway. Uh oh yeah. So you can people feel like you don't care about like other life events and things like that, but you do, and sometimes you want to be a part of that. So you may take a break from traveling outside of the country and come back.
Yeah.
Earlier in February, I went and, was able to witness really good friends of mine get married. And that was in the States. It was in February. It was cold. It was in Maryland, which I hated because it was so cold. But I was there to be a part of something that was really important to them and was important to me that I be there. And so I don't regret that. But I think it's just sometimes you do miss out on certain big life events in your friends and family's
Yeah. Yeah. You could always get you one of those signs of like free hugs and like stand out in the middle of the street with the free hugs and get all the hugs that you want. You
lives.
should
You're
try.
saying that post COVID. Oh
Oh,
my God.
that's my bad. That's my bad.
Don't get me wrong. Pre-COVID, I probably would have done it. But post-COVID, I don't know. I don't know.
All right, that's fair. Okay. What's the hardest thing as far as physically about traveling?
Oh gosh, physically. Mm, I don't really know so much as physically challenging for me. Um, I know some people would say, like, how can you find a gym? Like, are you, being able to like move around as much? And I think you are. I like to walk around to a lot of different places. So for me, always having places around me that are very walkable. I haven't had any challenges with really anything that I felt like was too hard for me to do, or anything like that in terms of just the physical part of traveling.
Okay, that's good. So you have never, like, I know when I was in Thailand, I got sick, like I ate something or I got a bug and like I was throwing up, pooping at the same
Yeah.
time. So you never had any bugs, anything like that, like any.
So, I mean, I've had certain, run-ins with food poisoning, but I could have that in the States. I did have it in the States. So I don't really look at that as something just solely because I'm traveling. I just think it happens.
That's fair. Okay.
It's just happens. I don't drink the water ever, so I don't feel like I'm ever going to get sick from water in certain places. You just got to be careful. You just got to do your research before you go.
I drank the water in somewhere, and then it was like it's fine to drink, but he was very short, it's like specific to say if your body's used to it already, because it's good to drink for them, but people
Right.
not. So that, yeah.
Yeah, they will say that. They'll be like, if you're used to it and if you stay here for a while, you can get used to it. I'm like, okay, this is not going to work for me. Let me just go with the bottled water just to be safe.
What's the hardest thing about your flexibility while traveling? You feel like you're more flexible or less flexible when traveling?
Oh, I think you have to be flexible when you travel this much because so many things can change. I mean, flights get delayed. You have to change Airbnbs because of whatever, God knows what, maybe bad Wi-Fi. Maybe it's just in a weird neighborhood that you expected. I think there's so many things you have to be flexible with because if you don't, then you're really not going to get used to this life. Like you're going to be afraid. I think you're just not going to be ready to go on and, do new things and try to go outside of your comfort zone. So I think you have to be flexible. And I definitely feel like I've gotten more flexible, especially with patients.
Have you ever like rented an Airbnb or a hotel and it was so bad you had to leave? Like it was just like horrible. Like just I can't stay here.
I will say, luckily, I have not. I have gone into a point where I've like gotten an Airbnb for like 2 weeks because I was just testing it out and I fell in love with it and I wanted to stay longer and it was already booked up.
Yeah.
So that was kind of disappointing.
That's
But
good.
I can't say that I went into an Airbnb and it was so bad. I was like, okay, I need to leave now.
Good for you, sis. Good for you. Okay, let's see. I think I'm on a freestyle reel. Actually, I'm asking a freestyle question.
Oh God.
It's gonna be good.
Okay.
It's really good. Very good.
Uh,
Why are you smiling so hard?
I'm just trying to wait. I'm
All
trying
right.
to anticipate.
Is there anything under any circumstances would there be like a space or a situation where you would say I don't want to travel anymore? Like I'm content with being in one place and maybe once a year you can go somewhere. But is there any situation where you just wouldn't travel anymore?
Now, you said wouldn't travel anymore, but then you said once a year.
Okay, once a year, but like right now you can go, go, go. But so once a year for
Yeah.
like a week or something, but not like you do now.
A week? That's so short. Oh my God. Right now, I would have to say no. Right now, I would have to say no.
Right.
But I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think also too when you are dating people and you make compromises because you do love that person and you want to do whatever works best for you all. So I can't say never, but
Right.
right now I know it's just something that I could never imagine. So it's like not never, but just in my mind, I can't really
Right.
wrap it around
Be in
that
a situation
because
to see.
yeah, because it is such a big part. Like
Right.
even just traveling once a year kind of is like, oh, once a year, that seems crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like once every quarter, like once a year.
Once a year for a week. What?
Oh, that's so short. And I feel like that's so American. to
Yeah.
only do one vacation and for only a week.
It's
I
yeah.
mean, it's nothing.
And then
Like,
two of those days are travel days. So you're not
you're
even
right.
so yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what if you on the flip side of someone who never wanted to travel, you found someone who traveled often, but their travel and your travel didn't align. So they was always on the go, like to travel, but like you guys was just like you could meet places, but their travel and yours was just
Well, I mean, I think in that position, I mean, I really don't feel like it's a way where like it wouldn't line up because someone's gonna have to give, like someone's gonna have to go more so where that other person is going, you
mhm,
know? So like if they're in a place, I don't know, in cold weather or something, God forbid. If they're in a place that's like cold, freezing, but they like to go to cold places. Maybe I have to compromise and just if I want to see them and spend time with them, I'm gonna have to do that and
yeah,
go where they are. So I think even when you are traveling and you do meet another fellow traveler, you're right. There may be times where it's not gonna align, but then I feel like that's just how bad do you want it? Like how bad do you really want to be with that person? And when are we, going to say, okay, I'm going to come see you. I know that I have this trip planned. And especially if it's not for work, like, a lot of people ask me, do I travel for work? I'm like, no, I travel because I can and still work. So the places that I go because I want to go, not because I'm forced to go. So if they're doing travel because they are forced to be somewhere, I can say, okay, let me compromise on where I want to go because you don't have that flexibility.
yeah, yeah. Okay. That's all my questions. So I appreciate you.
I'm glad. I'm glad. No, just kidding. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad.
All right. So where can people find you? I'm gonna put it down below as
Um,
well.
oh, okay, cool. Yeah, no, they can find me on Instagram. Ashley Has Spoken. It's usually where I kind of share my travels with everyone. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. It was fun.
It was. All right. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too.